Old Hollywood is often remembered for its glamour, elegance, and larger-than-life stars. But behind that shining image were quieter stories of identity, resilience, and heritage that rarely made it to the screen. Many of the era's most iconic actors came from Jewish backgrounds, some proudly embracing their roots, while others felt pressure to hide them in an industry built on image. Today, we explore 9 remarkable figures whose talent shaped cinema history, while their personal journeys reveal a deeper, more complex side of Hollywood's golden age. Actor number 1: Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr was one of the most fascinating figures to emerge from Hollywood's golden age, a woman whose life blurred the line between beauty, intelligence, and quiet resilience. Born as Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler in Austria to a Jewish family, she grew up in a world shaped by culture, curiosity, and rising political tension. From an early age, she showed a sharp mind and a natural ability to observe and understand how things worked, traits that would later define her in ways Hollywood never fully recognized. As Europe moved closer to war, Lamarr made a bold and dangerous decision to leave everything behind. Escaping a controlling marriage and the growing threat surrounding Jewish families at the time, she fled to the United States in search of safety and opportunity. It wasn't long before Hollywood noticed her striking beauty, quickly casting her as the embodiment of elegance and mystery. She was soon labeled one of the most beautiful women in the world, a title that brought fame, but also limitations. While audiences admired her on screen, few realized that behind the scenes, Lamarr was quietly working on ideas far beyond the film industry. During World War II, she co-developed a frequency-hopping communication system designed to prevent signal interference in military technology. Though her invention was largely overlooked at the time, it would later become a foundation for modern wireless communication. Including technologies like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, despite her intelligence and creativity, Hollywood often confined Lamarr to roles that focused only on her appearance. Yet she never stopped thinking, creating, or challenging expectations. Her story reveals a powerful contrast between how she was seen and who she truly was, a reminder that some of Hollywood's brightest minds were hidden in plain sight. Actor number 2: Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas rose from hardship to become one of the most powerful and determined figures of Hollywood's golden age. Born Isser Danielovich to a poor Jewish immigrant family, his early life was shaped by struggle, discipline, and an unshakable drive to succeed. Growing up with limited resources, he worked multiple jobs just to support his education, building a resilience that would later define both his career and his legacy. When Douglas entered Hollywood, his intense screen presence quickly set him apart. He became known for portraying strong-willed, complex characters, men driven by ambition, conflict, and moral challenges. Films like Spartacus and Paths of Glory showcased not only his acting ability but also his willingness to take on roles that carried deeper meaning. He wasn't just performing, he was making statements, but his impact went far beyond the screen. At a time when fear controlled the industry during the Hollywood blacklist era, Douglas made a bold and risky decision. He publicly credited a blacklisted writer for Spartacus, challenging a system that had silenced many careers. It was a move that required courage and conviction, and it helped shift the industry toward change. Throughout his life, Douglas became increasingly open about his Jewish identity, especially in his later years when he reconnected with his heritage and faith. His journey reflects more than just success, it tells the story of perseverance, integrity, and the courage to stand up not only for himself, but for others as well. Actor number 3: Edward G. Robinson. Edward G. Robinson became one of Hollywood's most recognizable and commanding figures, but his journey began far from the spotlight. Born Emanuel Goldenberg in Romania to a Jewish family, he immigrated to the United States as a child, growing up in a new world filled with both opportunity and challenge. From an early age, he showed determination and a passion for performance, eventually pursuing acting with a focus that would shape his future. Robinson rose to fame with his intense and unforgettable portrayals of gangsters, most notably in Little Caesar. His sharp features, expressive eyes, and powerful voice made him the perfect fit for tough, authoritative roles. On screen, he often embodied danger and control, but off-screen, he was known as a thoughtful, intelligent man with a deep appreciation for art, culture, and literature. At the height of his career, Robinson faced one of the most difficult periods in Hollywood history, the Blacklist era. Accused of having political sympathies he struggled to defend, he was pressured to testify and publicly clear his name. Although he cooperated, the damage had already been done. His reputation suffered, and opportunities became limited, marking a painful chapter in an otherwise remarkable career. Despite these challenges, Robinson remained connected to his values and his heritage. He continued to work, rebuild, and move forward with quiet resilience. His story reflects not only success and recognition, but also the cost of standing in the public eye during uncertain times, and the strength it takes to endure them. Actor number 4, Paul Muni. Paul Muni was known as one of the most transformative actors of Hollywood's golden age, a performer who didn't just play roles, but completely became them. Born to a Jewish family in what is now Ukraine, he was raised in a world of theater, as his parents were deeply involved in Yiddish stage performances. This early exposure shaped his understanding of character, emotion, and storytelling, giving him a foundation that would later define his unique approach to acting. From the beginning of his career, Muni stood apart. While many actors embraced typecasting for fame, he chose a different path, seeking out complex, often controversial roles that explored real people and real struggles. Whether portraying historical figures or characters caught in moral conflict, he approached each role with intense dedication, physically and emotionally transforming himself in ways that audiences had rarely seen before. His performances in films like Scarface and The Story of Louis Pasteur earned him critical acclaim and industry recognition, including an Academy Award. But for Muni, success was never just about fame. He was known for being selective, often stepping away from the spotlight rather than compromising on meaningful work. Despite the pressures of Hollywood to conform, Muni maintained a quiet connection to his Jewish roots. He didn't seek attention for it, nor did he completely hide it. He simply chose to focus on his craft above all else. His story is one of discipline, artistic integrity, and a deep commitment to authenticity in an industry often driven by image. Actor number 5, Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis rose from a difficult and uncertain childhood to become one of Hollywood's most recognizable and charismatic stars. Born Bernard Schwartz to Hungarian Jewish immigrants, he grew up in New York in an environment marked by poverty and instability. These early struggles shaped his determination, pushing him to pursue a life far beyond the limitations he was born into. When Curtis entered Hollywood, he quickly learned that success often required transformation, not just in acting, but in identity. Like many actors of the time, he changed his name to fit industry expectations, adopting a more marketable image that would appeal to a wider audience. With his charm, good looks, and natural screen presence, he soon became a leading man, starring in a wide range of films from light-hearted comedies to serious dramas, including the iconic Some Like It Hot. Behind the glamour, however, there was a more complicated reality. Curtis often spoke about feeling disconnected from his roots during the height of his fame, as the pressure to conform left little room for personal identity. Over time, as his career evolved, he became more reflective and open about his background and the sacrifices he made along the way. His journey highlights a common struggle faced by many actors of that era, the balance between success and self-identity. Tony Curtis's story is not just about fame, but about the personal cost of achieving it, and the quiet search for authenticity in a world built on illusion. Actor number 6, Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks carved out a legacy unlike anyone else connected to Hollywood's golden age, one built not on hiding identity, but boldly embracing it. Born Melvin Kaminsky in Brooklyn to a Jewish family, he grew up in a working-class environment where humor became both a shield and a voice. From an early age, he used comedy to navigate hardship, developing a sharp wit that would later define his entire career. After serving in World War II, Brooks entered the entertainment industry as a writer, quickly gaining attention for his fearless and unconventional style. He eventually moved into filmmaking, where he created some of the most daring and influential comedies of his time. Films like Blazing Saddles and The Producers didn't just entertain, they challenged norms, using satire to confront topics many avoided, including racism and even the legacy of Nazi Germany. What set Brooks apart was his willingness to openly express his Jewish identity through his work. Instead of downplaying it, he amplified it, turning cultural references, traditions, and humor into central elements of his storytelling. His approach was bold, sometimes controversial, but undeniably impactful. While others adapted to fit Hollywood's expectations, Brooks reshaped those expectations entirely. His success proved that authenticity could be powerful, and that comedy could be both entertaining and deeply meaningful. His story stands as a contrast to many of his peers, a reminder that sometimes, the greatest strength comes from fully embracing who you are. Actor number 7, Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was a rare kind of Hollywood talent, an actor who brought together innocence, emotion, and quiet intensity in a way that made his performances unforgettable. Born Jerome Silberman to a Jewish family in Milwaukee, he grew up with a sensitive nature that set him apart from other children. A turning point in his early life came when his mother became seriously ill, and he discovered that making her laugh brought her comfort. That experience deeply shaped his understanding of comedy, not as noise or exaggeration, but as something emotional and human. Wilder later trained in theater and developed a strong foundation in stage acting, where he learned to balance subtle expression with powerful emotional delivery. This combination would become his signature style in film, allowing him to move effortlessly between humor and vulnerability. He rose to widespread fame through iconic roles such as Willy Wonka in Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory and his collaborations with director Mel Brooks, where his unique timing and expressive presence stood out. Unlike many stars of his era, Wilder never chased excessive fame or public attention. Instead, he preferred a quieter life, focusing on meaningful work and creative expression. His Jewish background also played a quiet but meaningful role in shaping his worldview and artistic partnerships, often reflected in the emotional depth and humanity of his characters. Gene Wilder's legacy is not just about comedy, it is about heart, sensitivity, and the ability to connect with audiences on a deeply personal level. Actor number 8, Lauren Bacall. Lauren Bacall, born Betty Joan Persky in New York, came from a Jewish family with Eastern European roots, and her early life was shaped by modest circumstances and quiet resilience. After her parents' separation, she was raised primarily by her mother, which helped develop the independence and strong-willed personality that would later define her presence on screen. She entered Hollywood at a young age, and almost immediately stood out, not just for her looks, but for something far more distinctive: her voice, her confidence, and her commanding screen presence. Her breakthrough came with To Have and Have Not, where she starred alongside Humphrey Bogart. Marking the beginning of one of cinema's most iconic partnerships, during the golden age of Hollywood, studios often controlled public images carefully, and ethnic backgrounds were rarely emphasized. Bacall's Jewish heritage was not highlighted in her early career, but it remained an important part of who she was. As she matured, she became more open about her identity and more aware of the pressures that shaped the industry's expectations. What made Bacall truly memorable was not only her talent, but her individuality. She carried herself with confidence, intelligence, and a quiet strength that challenged the typical image of female stars at the time. Her legacy reflects more than romance or fame, it reflects independence, character, and the ability to stand firmly in one's identity within a system that often demanded conformity. Actor number 9, Zero Mostel. Zero Mostel, born Samuel Joel Mostel in Brooklyn to a Jewish family, was one of the most electrifying and unpredictable performers of his generation. From an early age, he showed a natural talent for expression and humor, often using physical comedy and sharp timing to capture attention. His bold personality and improvisational style quickly set him apart in theater and early performance circuits, where audiences were drawn to his raw energy and fearless stage presence. As his career developed, Mostel became known for his ability to move effortlessly between comedy and drama. He didn't just perform roles, he filled them with intensity, spontaneity, and emotion. However, his rising success was abruptly disrupted during the McCarthy era, when he was blacklisted in Hollywood due to alleged political associations. Like many artists of the time, he faced professional isolation, financial struggle, and uncertainty about his future. Despite these challenges, Mostel refused to fade away. Instead, he rebuilt his career in theater, where his talent could not be ignored. His return to prominence came with powerful performances in productions like Fiddler on the Roof, a work deeply connected to Jewish identity and tradition. In these roles, he brought both humor and emotional depth, connecting his personal heritage with his art in a profound way. Mostel's journey is a story of resilience and reinvention. He represents the spirit of survival in the face of exclusion, and the power of performance as both personal expression and cultural memory.